Turn off your television sets. Turn them off now. Turn them off right now. Turn them off and leave them off. Turn them off right in the middle of the sentence I'm speaking to you now. Turn them off.
How's it going? Thanks for joining us for another recap of Ted Lasso. We'll be covering episode 2 entitled Lavender. As always, D, how's it going?
I'm okay. I wish I could put my glasses on, y'all, because I can't see. But the ring light shows in them and it's annoying. Other than that, I'm fine. Hi, everybody.
Yeah, I mean, maybe if you like did it at an angle. I don't know. We'll talk later. But
right there.
but the previous recap we kind of did like a character like round table, but now let's start with how we typically do, just general impressions of this episode.
It was hard to watch, kind of, but I enjoyed it a lot. Yeah, I really don't. I mean, I can't really talk about it without talking about it. But general, I mean, I like it as always. I enjoyed it. Nothing. No notes, I guess.
Yeah, so what I liked most about this show to start off is like it was like comfort food, you know? It was like something you just sit down, watch, enjoy. But this episode actually established like real stakes for like what's like a relatively like low stake show, like in several different directions, and we'll get into a lot of those. But yeah, for like parts of this episode, like I was kind of on the edge of my seat, and I was like, I wasn't expecting this from like this show. So yeah, we'll get into it. Lots of things to talk about, but yeah, it was definitely this episode definitely raised the stakes.
Lots of things we do. You want to start?
Yes. So I guess we can start at the beginning with Jamie being kicked off.
Jamie Tart, so precious. Yeah, so Jamie got kicked off the show. And this, like you joked about it, but it's totally Love Island. Like it's 100% Love Island. That's what the show is. And I think he was just as shocked as we were that he got kicked off the show, but it was hilarious. It's what he deserves, right? Like he needed it.
So yeah, he's like a loser in two ways now because just in case you haven't noticed, like the season has started. Yeah, the Premier League season has started. So he is on a reality TV show. The season has started. And since he was on loan at Manchester City, obviously, like he's disposable. Like he has a lot of potential, but he's clearly disposable. So he attempts to go back to Manchester City, and they're just like, "Nah, we're good.
We're making it without you. We're actually pretty fine. We're doing just fine. Getting along very well without you in our lives." They really were like, no. Oh no, the funniest part though is when he was talking about it and they put him on blast and the coach was like, "Oh, no, he's not coming back. Mm-mm.
He's not coming back."
It's like Jamie, I think Jamie really like it's almost kind of like, oh my goodness, look at that, the consequences of my own actions. And that's what's happening to Jamie. Like all the negativity he has spewed over time is finally coming back. He's like it. For the lack of better words, he's getting his comeuppance in a way. But I will say, I didn't think he was nice. You know what I mean? I thought he was just a jerk in general. But the way he responded to the fans, or the 5 fans who were outside of his hotel room, I mean, he was nice to them. I thought he was just a jerk all around.
Oh no! See, he was even nice to remember he was nice to Ted has a son, right? Ted's son, yeah. I could remember. I saw a little girl there, but I'm mixing that up with Roy Kent's niece. But yeah, so he loves his fans because, of course, it's like, oh, me. But I do think, I do think there are like layers with Jamie. So like, and we're starting to see that like he's a bit more complex than just like the cocky asshole. Like there's a lot more there.
He's definitely a cocky asshole though. Like we're not trying to say that in
Oh
any
no,
way
definitely.
he's totally that, but that's just not all he is. And I thought that's
Mhm.
all he was. And I see now it's more than that. He's got daddy issues.
Yes, and we'll definitely get to that. But
Mhm.
he followed Keely to the coffee shop, and the way the conversation kind of cuts off, it leads to another scene where she's in bed, having a wank. So D, we kind of talked about this off air, but did you expect that to be Jamie?
I panicked. Honest to God,
Yeah.
I panicked because I'm like, no, Keely, no, like, no. And she was already looking at him, with that look. And it's
Mhm.
now that I've realized it's just more familiarity than it was like lust.
Mhm.
And that's what it was. And I think honestly that she kind of feels sorry for Jamie because
Uh-huh.
she probably knows him better than anybody else. And she knows that it's bravado, and she knows that it's just him puffing himself up, and she knows that there's a true sad little boy in there. So I didn't think about all of that before when I saw her with the phone. And I panicked. Like I did. I really did panic because I was like, oh no, 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 no. But I mean, of course, I should have known. My girl wasn't gonna let me down. And
But
she
they
did.
played it. They played it so well because, like, the
Yeah.
last thing we hear Jamie say, if I'm not mistaken, is like, "We need to talk," which was their code previously for let's let's do our thing. But the video we get is like hilarious. It was like, of course, we had like a lot of good jokes leading up to this, like for instance, you're like a son to me now. You're like a dead son, but no, this was like the first like laugh out loud joke because we get to see what what video she's watching, and it's hilarious because it is Roy Kent's retirement press conference.
Which is a lot like Jordan's Hall of
Yes.
Fame one with the tears.
Uh-huh.
I mean, like Roy is a mess. Like he is he's crying, he's weeping, and it's like all coming out. And this is the first time I'm sure a lot of people have seen him show an emotion that was not anger.
Mm-hmm.
And Keely that's her jam, I guess. And she was really enjoying it.
Yeah.
Big time.
It was weird seeing Roy like that because I said that the on the first episode, like the way they shot his scenes in the first season, like if he was even about to smile, they cut the scene.
Mm-hmm.
So to see him like crying now,
I mean,
pretty hilarious.
Crying too, like really into it, not holding anything back, getting it all out, crying. And the fact that she's like super turned on by that is hilarious. Like it's hilarious. It really is because it's the antithesis of what he shows that he is. But I mean, it makes sense because again, it's Keely. She's an odd lady. She's great, but she's an odd lady.
Yeah, and the reason why she's so connected, to say the least, to this video is because Roy is showing emotion and he's showing like passion for something.
Real emotion.
Real emotion. Something that he apparently has been lacking since his retirement. So she finally pushes him to, get into the pundit gig, and we'll get into that later. But D, one question I wanted to ask you, because I'm going into the conversation between, I'm going to jump a bit ahead to the conversation between Ted and Jamie. If you were Ted, would you consider giving Jamie a chance, considering you're on a streak of 8 ties? Would you consider giving Jamie a chance?
Before I answer that, I want to mention Keely's the one that told him to do that.
Right.
Again, it's always Keely. She's like, you're talking to the wrong person. You need to be talking, and I'm assuming she meant, well, we didn't hear the conversation, but I'm assuming.
Yeah, you need to be talking to the manager of the club.
Yeah. I can't. Okay. Now, it's hard for me to say because I know what happens. I want to say that I would have been like, I would consider it because I'm the coach and I know my job as the coach is to win games. However, when Ted told Jamie it wasn't a good idea, I wasn't surprised. And I'm like, well, good for you. And I thought good for you in a way because it was Ted is making a hard decision.
Mm-hmm.
It was not Ted being the nice guy that's going to do the right thing all the time, but just kind of like he's thinking about what's best for the team, which in the end he actually does what's best for the team. So I guess I probably maybe even would have done it the same exact way. Would have been like, just no, because I know how Jamie just brings down the morale in the locker room, especially. And I don't know if I would have been thinking about Sam specifically, because I honestly forgot how much shit he gave Sam until he mentioned it. Because I was just thinking about, him being a jackass in general, and I was thinking about Nathan, but it wasn't Jamie that was bothering Nathan. It was somebody else. Sam was the one that got most of Jamie's shit. So to answer your question, I think I probably would have said the same thing, like, nah, it's not gonna work. But I'm stubborn like that. Like, I'm one of them people that's like, well, nah, you can't come back to me now after you ain't got no choice for nobody else. Because I'm sure Ted saw the news or saw the clip when they were like, no, he's not coming back. So I probably been like, nah, you can't come back in here now. Like, don't want me now. You didn't want me when I wanted you. So no, being honest with myself, that's where I am.
Yeah, it's wild because Ted, like, on the same issue, he made two separate decisions, but like you said, at both times they were the right decision. So yeah, I'll start with the first decision. Obviously, like, it was important that we saw Ted like turn him down in the manner that we did, because even though he's on this streak of like 8 ties or whatever, it shows that he's not desperate and that he actually listens to like his other players, because any other coach would have been like, oh yeah, Jamie Tart, come back. Danny Rojas, you are on the bench. Jamie Tart is starting again. Like, it would have been that simple. But to see Ted's like just face him and look into his eyes and say, you know what, I don't think that's a good idea. Like, it was important for us to see that because it adds to Ted's character. It shows that he has like a lot of integrity.
He's got a spine,
Right.
Like, he's not just a yes man. He's not just I'm going to do what makes everybody happy in the moment. He's actually thinking, which is good, because like you said, it makes Ted multi-layered. He's not just nice. It's actually kindness that's his thing. It's not just nice, because nice would have just been like, well, sure, Jamie, you come on in. I like that he turned him down. I really did. I loved it, actually.
But D, speaking of Ted, do you start to see us unpacking Ted a little bit? It happens twice in this episode.
Yeah. Okay, so Sharon is like, she wasn't lying about being doubly good at her job. She's really good at it. And initially it comes off as brass, because we're so used to how sweet Ted is. But that's not it at all. She's just very matter of fact. She's direct. And that doesn't mean that she's mean. She's very she has a lot of tact. She's not, going in there just cursing at people or telling them things in a way that makes them feel bad. She's just giving them the truth, and she's doing it in a very direct manner, which is what she should do. And it helps her to be objective, because if these are your friends, at least me, I am very direct with my friends, but I do come at it in a different way. I know when to say it. I know they might not be in the mood for it right now. She's really not there for that. She's there to do a job, and that's what she's doing. Speaking of, have you read or do you know the subject matter of the Prince of Tides? You know the name of it, Prince of Tides?
I don't. I'm not really familiar. I know this. I know the subject matter of the Fountainhead, and I'm surprised that that's Ted's favorite book, considering that it's like the launch pad for like the libertarian. Well, no, I actually said that out loud, considering that Ted is like a so is Ted Lasso from North Carolina, or
him somewhere
I think he is in the show, like from North Carolina, which is also where Jason Sudeikis is from, I believe. But yeah, now that I say that out loud, it makes sense. So I take that back.
Southern, yeah, he's definitely Southern.
Ted is probably one of like the nice Republicans. Like, I didn't vote for Trump, but I still vote Republican.
He's totally a Republican. 100% a Republican, like, no doubt whatsoever. But yeah. So what do you think?
But yeah, so that was interesting, because she basically All right, so the first time she talked to Ted, like we saw Ted had his wall up, but now he's going on the offensive, no pun intended. So he comes into her office, tries to hand her the biscuits. He sits down and she is observing him in his natural state, and she's like, "Oh, so this is how you get to know people." And that was interesting because it shows that Ted puts himself first. So and now that I think about it, it's almost an answer to the dark game with Rupert, like how people are like not curious about him because he puts himself out there first, so you won't have any curiosity about him, or you won't have to poke and prod. So you're like, oh, that's just Ted Lasso. But I think we're going to find out there's more than that, because do you remember the conversation with Jamie where Jamie asked him about his dad and he was like, oh, he was harder on himself than he was about me? Mm-hmm. I feel like there's something there. Like, this is the second mention of his father. I feel like there's something there to make Ted how he is.
I also want to add that Ted offering information gives him the room to give you what he wants you to have. Mm-hmm. Right? So it looks like he's an open book. It looks like he has nothing to hide. He's just, like you said, that's just Ted. But it doesn't, because he's so open, it makes you kind of less inclined to ask him about himself because he's already offered up the information. Mm-hmm. Right? You don't, he's not mysterious, I guess is what I'm trying to get to. So you don't have a reason to believe he's hiding anything. But with him giving that information, kind of like, hey, my cards are on the table, I'm not hiding anything at all. It kind of makes people less curious, like you said. Like, it just makes them less curious. Mm-hmm. And that may be what he wants. Want to add Prince of Tides. Really crazy. The main character recently was fired from his position as a coach and a teacher. Huh. And he spends time with his sister's psychiatrist because his sister keeps attempting suicide. So he has to figure out, like, the whole book this is just a Wikipedia article, people. I haven't read it, but it says he tries to make himself a better person and figure out how his life has gotten so off track. That's the main character in Prince of Tides.
Ooh, that's a bit on the nose.
Right. So now I want to read Prince of Tides.
Yeah.
But I think I'm starting to wonder, something traumatic happened to Ted's father. Because he says he passed away, which is traumatic in itself. But I'm wondering if it was something like if people, when you say pass away, you think peacefully. Like, even if it was a sickness, we kind of saw it coming. It was in hospice, which is still very, very tough. But I'm wondering if it was something traumatic, like a car accident or
because Ted was pretty young when his father passed away. He was still a teenager. Yeah, he was still a teenager.
And 16 is like, it's major.
Right.
And that's a lot, like 16. And I know a lot of people date long before that, but 16, you're kind of, you're dating, really. You could be falling in love with somebody for the first time. You're driving, you're graduating high school soon, proms, and big stuff is happening around that time. So that means all of that big stuff his dad wasn't there for. His dad wasn't there for him to get married, his kid, none of that stuff. So I think she's going to have to unpack it whether he wants to or not. And I think he needs to. Can we talk about Nathan right quick?
That's where I was going to go next. I'm glad you brought that up. Yes.
It's getting worse.
It is.
It's getting worse. It's tough. It's really tough to watch. It is. And I thought it would click when he was like, when they were talking about Jamie. He's like, and it's hard to be in a locker room with somebody berating them all the time. And then he immediately berates the kit man. And I'm like, and they even took a second, almost like, you got it, right? Did it click? And Nathan's looking at them like, what? Nothing happened. So they're gonna have to actually say something to him for him to get it. Because I honestly don't think he sees it. Maybe.
Yeah, and I wonder if this is a thing for Ted too. Like, if he, in situations like this, if he is afraid to take something like head on, because the way he's letting like Nate do this, Like, because obviously, like, he and Beard knows like what Nate is doing because they always look at each other, and
Mhm.
Ted has that lingering look, but he refuses to be like, "Hey, Nate, just chill out."
Remember, he did the same thing for Nate though. When Nate
Mhm.
was being bullied, he said when Roy asked him about it, he's like, "Are you gonna do something?" He's like, "No." Mm-mm. And he said it's because like he learned that the worst thing you can do in that kind of situation is kind of like take up for him. And I'm wondering if he's using that same tactic for the kid, man. Like, I can't jump in and say, "Hey, Nate, stop bullying him." But the difference in this case is you can and you
Mhm.
should,
Right.
because this is a power dynamic where this is his boss and he's mistreating an employee. This isn't two kids, on the swings and one of them won't let the other one swing. No, this is something you supposed to, like, this is your job. It really is. Your job is to say, "Hey, Nathan, chill out, man. You're doing a lot."
So yeah, Nate is gonna get like. I still think he's gonna get too big for his britches, and he's gonna do something wild where Ted or like Beard has to say like, "Hey, like, okay, we can't let this slide anymore because
Did
it's getting worse."
did I miss something with the office? Because the running joke has been Leslie doesn't have an office, right?
Mhm.
Leslie gave Sharon his office, which was nice and it made sense. But now he has nowhere to go. And they kind of volunteered um, Nathan's office that they could share. And
Mhm.
Nathan's face was like, like, "What you mean?" And
Mhm.
he said sure at the end, but I'm like, is that, was he wrong to offer it? I don't think so. But
I
maybe
mean,
he should
that's
have run it by him first.
but
Maybe.
but but Beard and Lasso share an office.
See, I didn't realize they shared it out. I just knew I just knew Beer was in there all the time.
Yeah, because remember the very first episode they pushed their desks together.
Mm-hmm. 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 So that should have been like the solution from the beginning.
Right.
From the beginning, you share this office with him, and yeah, I don't know,
Yeah.
Nathan. It's
Nate just thinks he's the biggest dog of the Diamond Dogs now.
the bee's knees. Yeah, he's
Yeah.
doing a lot. Yeah,
So
but anywho,
so yeah, like I guess switching gears to Roy. Roy Kent is obviously Roy Keane. Like it's not like they're not even hiding it anymore because Roy Keane also works for Sky Sports, and the things he says sometimes
it's
like they have
definitely
to they have to like they have to like after each match they have to be like, Roy, we are on live TV because yeah.
I'm like, oh boy, I enjoy his candor.
No, it's refreshing, and I think that's why Keely knows best. She pushed him to do this because she knew like he loves the game so much that he'll be free to talk about it again, and she was right.
Listen to your women.
Well, yeah.
Just saying, your woman has your best, at heart. She knows what's good for you. She won't lead you astray. I do like that she was pushy enough,
Mhm.
right? Like she knew when to lay off when it came to him talking about it, but she also knew that it was fear more than anything else for him to do it. And I really appreciate how he was finally comfortable telling her that he was afraid that he was just that they would think he sucked. And she was like,
Mhm.
when do you care what people think about you?
All right.
Right? Like, who cares? And he went in there with the confidence he needed, because I mean, if Keely ever leaves him, I just really don't know what's going to happen.
Oh
I'm
yeah,
honestly
they'll
trying to
crush
figure
him.
out how he survived without her this long.
Yeah.
I don't see how. Speaking of, before I forget, what was that look Rebecca gave her when she saw Jamie? What was that about?
Two aces.
That's what it was. Okay.
So
Okay.
let's I guess get into that. So first let's start with Sam having his breakdown, and which was uncharacteristic for Sam. I was like, oh Sam, I ain't never see you act like this. But Ted flat out told him, like, hey, like, you have nothing to worry about. I told Jamie, like, it's not gonna happen. Then, we see Jamie march out the tunnel, and I'm inclined to believe they didn't have a conversation since. So now Sam is looking at Ted like, you're a liar, and Jamie is, just back on the training grounds again.
All right, I'm glad. Let's break this down. I can understand why Sam would feel away after hearing it's not going to happen and then it happened, because that's a lie. Like, that's a flat out lie. You lied to me. Okay. But from Ted's point of view, Ted doesn't need to consult with Sam about decisions about the team. Mm-hmm. And that's why I was very, very proud of him for doing what he was supposed to do as a coach. And that's why I think Sharon, again, is going to be a big major part of helping him be firm but fair, which is the way a boss or a manager or whoever should be. Because Sam really was like, I'm about to show my ass. And he did. Like, you can't storm off the field in the middle of practice. Even the captain was like, what are you doing? Like, what's going on? And I appreciate how Sam was able to talk to him and kind of, give him a chance to explain himself and express himself, and then say, oh, but I still got to make you run because, that's unacceptable. I love that a lot because, again, it showed that Ted isn't a doormat. You can't just do whatever you want to do. He's going to stand up for himself, as he should, and do what's best, in my opinion. Now, they definitely need to have a conversation now, though.
Yeah, because here's the thing. Like, Ted at the moment did not lie. Like, he didn't lie. So he actually didn't tell a lie. But the thing with Sam is, like, you allow Ted to console you, tell you that, hey, like, let's not get upset over, like, the mysterious thing. Like, if you feel something, come talk to me about it. And they thought that was squashed. And the next thing you know, like, after hearing Jamie isn't coming, you see Jamie is coming. Mm-hmm. So yeah, that makes it a bit tricky. And I don't know if you caught it, but even Danny Rojas was looking like
Wait a little bit, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Football is life.
Okay, so
explain this to me. Can they not play at the same time? Are they the same position?
Yeah. So they're both strikers. So technically, you can play what's called a I mean, if you want to go into it, you could play what's called a 4-4-2, which is 4 defenders, 4 midfielders, and 2 strikers. So you can technically play them together, but but the way they're making it seem is like they're so comfortable. I don't know if they can play together because they're like too like for like. So obviously this is going to create tension because Danny, like, even though he's gotten over the yips, like, he's still not like in like his best form. Mm-hmm. And I mean, Jamie is there. Like, here's Jamie now. So I don't know. We're going to see. Is an interesting dynamic.
I think just, I guess, in the grand scheme, just like Sharon said, is 8 draws. Does everybody consider 8 draws? It ain't broke, because that's what he was saying. Is it a if it ain't broke, don't try to fix it type situation? And she's just like, is it not broke? Like, is that the case? Mm-hmm. Because the locker room is great, the morale is high, and it's because they have no adversity, and they have they're very content with good enough. And that's not where they should be. They're content with being mediocre, actually, because that's really what they are. They're like the bare minimum at this point. And you should want to win. Like, there should be enough in you to know that you can win, and you should want to. They are settling for ties because it's like, well, at least we didn't lose. Mm-hmm. And that's whack. You know what I mean? So the fact that Ted, even against Beard and Nathan, decided to bring Jamie back, I think that says a lot too.
Cause yeah, going back to the vote, there are four Diamond Dogs. We see Leslie say thumbs up,
Mhm.
Beard and Nathan thumbs down. So not only did Ted say thumbs up, he also said I'm the tiebreaker.
That's what I thought he was gonna literally say it. I thought he was gonna say it. Like I thought he was gonna be like, well, it's a tie, but yeah, it's me. But I also think Rebecca's that other vote in his mind, not literally,
Mm,
but Rebecca wants to win.
mm,
So in Ted's mind, yes, he's the winning vote. But when it comes down to it, because he said this before, she's a part of the team. And he knows that she wants to win. And in order for her to win, he has to do everything he can for that to happen. So there you go. I think he's considering her too, of course, because it's her club.
yeah, yeah. But yeah, it's gonna be interesting seeing the dynamic because obviously, and by the way, Ted's reason for bringing Jamie back to the team, like we saw that in season one, Ted said Sam benefits from having a great father. Jamie does not, so I can't give up on the guy. So we understand that, but we also understand that Jamie isn't all the way there yet, and he's still going to be
Yeah.
back to his old ways. I mean, he didn't change overnight.
No, but I think it's the humbling is going to happen. Like I think that's what this season's going to be. It's going to be the humbling of Jamie Tart, and he needs that because being kicked off the show was one. Like, what do you mean? Like nobody wants me on the show. That's first of all. Then he couldn't. His team didn't pick him back up. His daddy is his dad, and then Ted told him no. Like, I mean, yes, he came back later and was like, all right, fine, this is what we're going to do. But I think it's going to be a situation where they do rub off on him. I think Nathan might be a jerk to him a little bit. And also Sam, but I think in the end, they'll all get it together. I hope so, at least.
Yeah, because like I mean, obviously we see him in like limited action because this is a television show, but we can obviously tell that Jamie is like super talented. So if they can get him on the right page, like that's the missing piece for their team. They'll be back in the Premier League. So it'll be interesting to see. And like I said, this episode, excuse me, really raised the stakes for the show in like several ways. So I really enjoyed this episode.
I did too, and I like that that Roy was very honest. I mean, of course he was gonna be, but he's like, I mean, they played like shit.
Yeah.
Like, excuse the language, but do you want to, expound on that? He was like, yeah, they look shitty on the field. Okay, well, there you go. I mean, he's not gonna change what he thinks, but I like that he was very honest, and him being gone away from the locker room. Maybe that's going to help Ted too, because Ted still needs somebody that's going to be like, hey, it's more than just a tie. And with Sharon there, plus Roy giving him hell every week, I think that's going to be a little boost he needs. Hope so, at least. Oh, do you think they're solid though? What you think is going to happen? Do you think Jamie's going to like try to move back on Keely, or is it done?
Of course.
She's gonna resist though because she's awesome and she really likes Roy. They like each other. They should gonna get married. Just get married.
Yeah, let's hope so. Let's hope that she doesn't give in.
It's been has it been like a year? Like how far apart are the seasons?
Yeah, we can assume it's been a year.
It's been like a year. They've been together for a year now.
Yeah.
Don't take a whole day to recognize sunshine. That's what Carmen said. They can go and get married. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, that's it.
Rupert's coming back. You think Rupert's coming back?
Nah.
Because the baby should be here by now, right?
Oh no, you know what? I take that back. I mean, will Rupert ever be gone? I don't think so. I don't know. We may see him again.
Don't he own part of the club though? Like he bought it from the Milk Sisters, so he's part owner. He can't come back to the box, but he's still
he can't come back to the box, but he's still minority owner.
Yeah, so maybe he'll be there, maybe won't.
He skimmed a bit off the top. but yeah. Sorry.
Bye, y'all. We appreciate y'all watching. That's enough for today.
All right. All right. Thanks for joining us. We'll be back next week, same time. If you're enjoying the show as well, just hit the like button, drop a comment. Until next time, peace.
Peace.